Did you know that Total Retail's sister brand, Women in Retail Leadership Circle, hosts regional one-day events? These events offer an opportunity for women executives to network, learn from each other, and improve business processes. If you want to find inspiration on how to conquer challenges in both your personal and professional lives, consider attending Women in Retail Leadership Circle's On the Road San Francisco event, taking place on Thursday, November 7th. For more information, visit ontheroad.wirlc.com.
Welcome to Total Retail Talks, your podcast channel for retail knowledge.
Hi, and welcome to episode 219 of Total Retail Talks. I'm Joe Keenan, Executive Editor of Total Retail. Joining me today is Jason Schott, Chief Operating Officer at Schott NYC, a manufacturer and retailer of premium outdoor clothing, including leather jackets, motorcycle apparel, as well as other apparel and accessories. We're going to be discussing how Schott NYC is using local social advertising solutions to help drive consumer engagement and sales for the brand. Thanks for joining me, Jason.
Thank you for having me.
So let's start by having you tell us a little bit about Schott NYC.
We are a fourth-generation family business, started in 1913, over 100 years ago, on the Lower East Side of New York City. My great-grandfather started by making fur-lined raincoats and selling them door-to-door in New York, and soon after that invented the motorcycle jacket. We've been a supplier to the U.S. military since before World War II, and so we still now operate a factory here in New Jersey, where we're making jackets and selling them throughout the world. And so it's an Americana brand, a lifestyle brand now. We've expanded into other categories, but it's predominantly jackets and clothing with Americana as our driving force, and Made in America a huge component of that.
So let's take, maybe for the context for our audience, let's talk a little bit about your distribution channels. You mentioned a supplier to the military there, but also you're selling direct to consumer on your website. You have a couple brick and mortar stores, wholesale business as well.
Yes, that's right.
Okay.
You know, it's funny how Americana and Made in America specifically was more appreciated outside the U.S. More than it is more recently. Now it's become appreciated here in the U.S. But we always had these really strong partners internationally that were distributors and then became licensees. And so we have distributors internationally. They started the retail component. Of course, my great-grandfather had a store in New York City in the 20s to the 1940s. But from the 40s until the 90s, we were really a factory, relying on other partners to kind of do the distribution part, to do the direct-to-consumer part, and we started to realize that it's important for us to have that connection with our customers directly. And so now we have 4 of our own retail stores we operate: New York, Chicago, LA, San Francisco, as well as the website.
So let's talk a little bit about those 4 brick and mortar stores that you just mentioned. So the markets, obviously huge markets. So what are you doing in terms of you've created this, Americana brand, as you mentioned, to make the brand aware to consumers in those different markets where you have the brick and mortar stores. How are you kind of using, what's your marketing approach to those local consumers?
So for us, there's so much history built into the product, and we're going through our archives and pulling out these vintage styles that we're recreating. We're using a lot of the same manufacturing techniques that my great-grandfather started, and so there's a really strong message to tell in the product, and having local stores is a way to share that information with consumers that are coming into the store. People walk into the store and they smell the leather. They put on one of our jackets, and they're rugged, heavy jackets at times. And some of our jackets are built to last for for decades, to pass on to the future generation. And so people put on these jackets and it has a transformative effect. They feel like a badass when they put it on. And so having a store where they can feel the leather, smell the leather, try it on, it really has been very beneficial for us.
Yeah, it's about creating that experience that, the product really can't be totally appreciated. Not that it can't be sold online, but to the added value you get probably stepping into one of your stores and trying on the product is worthwhile in what you're trying to tell people.
Absolutely. I mean, it is so hard to get somebody to really for us to capture the feeling of the leather, the smell of the leather, and how it makes you feel on a website. And of course, the way that we can do that is by creating those experiences at a local level and then pushing that onto our website. And so people come in the store, they have that feeling, they fall in love with the brand, and then they go online and share that story with other consumers that maybe aren't in one of those cities, but start to feel better about the brand because they see the faith that everybody else has, the positive reviews that we're getting. It's our connection with some incredible influencers that just happen into our stores, fall in love with the brand, and then all of a sudden, they're out there in the world on stages, on camera, wearing our jackets because they want to, not because we're paying them, and that helps to drive the sales through the website.
Yeah, that's really interesting. Your customer and some of these influencers that you mentioned, they're your biggest ambassadors. And to your point, this is almost like free marketing, free advertising, because you're not paying them to wear the product.
Yeah, we don't pay anybody to wear our products. And we're incredibly fortunate to have an incredible roster of influencers it goes all the way back to Marlon Brando and James Dean and the Ramones and Springsteen and Guns N' Roses, but more recently, it's Jay-Z, Rihanna, Lady Gaga, Kanye West, and Adam Levine, and it's amazing. But what we're finding is that the marquee names are amazing, but sometimes it's people that are, more closely tied with the lifestyle that we're trying to represent. People that are they're still incredible influencers, but they don't have the millions and millions of followers.
Yep.
That seem to drive the most traffic to us.
So obviously, to the stores again, New York City obviously is a natural fit. That's where the brand was born. Your manufacturing facilities there. How about the other three markets? Chicago, LA, San Francisco. Why those three markets? Were you seeing, web traffic? What made you choose those three markets?
It's a lot based on the Google Analytics, and just seeing not only the web traffic, but the conversion, the business that we did online. And what we found is that in every location where we opened a store, the web business didn't go down. The web business actually was flat or increased a little bit, which meant that we're not stealing away from our web business by opening a store. We're helping, because now we're just growing our sales in that territory. And the one that kind of struggled a little bit was in Chicago, which was a natural to me because we had such a great, we had a very strong web business in Chicago. And so we opened a store. We're looking for the right co-tenants. We're looking for the right kind of traffic. And I thought we had the right place. And so that was the one area where I didn't see as much growth as I wanted to see. And that's where we partnered with this company, Brand Networks, to try to run this. It started as a pilot program to try some local promotion, some organic and some paid social, to try to build our customer base in and around the store. And that was very successful for us. It really helped us to grow our local base.
Yeah, that's interesting. And to your point, where when you open a store, whether it be in San Fran or L.A., Chicago, that it's not necessarily cannibalizing the web business in those markets. It's, to your point, people are going into the store, they're trying on the product, they're having this great experience, they're purchasing the product, then they're telling their friends, their family about it. So it's driving additional traffic, online in store from those customers.
Yes, and the thing that we struggle a little bit with is that now we've got incredible staff, they're more than brand ambassadors because they're employees, but the store staff in each of these cities that is now invested in the brand, and they're trying to push a message that might digress a little bit from the main DNA of the brand, and so everyone is doing it in a way to try to improve sales, but each local store has its own twist on the brand, or something is happening in that city at a particular time, whether it's the weight of the jackets, whether it's some people still see us in black and white as a brand from decades ago. And it can be a challenge sometimes when we have the motorcycle jacket as such an iconic body, and it's incredible to be known for that. But we can't stand behind that only. And so we have to be careful. We know every time we post that on our Instagram, we're going to get thousands of likes. But if we only post that, then people are going to start to forget about all the other things that we do, or not be introduced to it. So we really had to figure out a way to give each local store the ability to have a local voice catering to their customer base, but also to stand under the brand umbrella, the DNA of the brand.
Yeah.
And that's where having a company like Brand Networks that could help to create the strategy, train the staff, that was really helpful for us, and help us come up with local events. That was great.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense. I mean, the customer in Chicago is likely, you're speaking to that customer a little differently than maybe you're speaking to the customer in LA, I would imagine.
Exactly. And so, there's an article in the Sourcing Journal recently about are too many brands losing sight of their DNA? And, it's a question that I think a lot of people have to try to figure out. You don't want to be all things to all people. You have to stand for something, but you have to make sure that whatever it is that you're standing for is large enough that you can be successful in a big enough market that's right for you. And for us, we have always been a little bit of this underground brand. We had one location in California that was an outdoor mall. Coming from the East Coast, I don't think of that as a mall, but I learned very quickly that people on the West Coast think of that exactly as a mall. And we heard often, "You're not a mall brand. Why are you here?" It wasn't, they didn't feel like it was the right place for us.
Yeah.
And so, we always want to remain, it sounds terrible to say that this, every time I say underground cool, I feel like we lose a little bit of it. But but there is this feeling about that,
yeah.
and we don't want to lose that. So we want to be able to grow organically, be a little bit less underground, but not lose all of that cachet. And allowing the local stores to kind of have their own messages has been helpful for us.
Yeah, so it's a perfect segue into my next question. So we've talked a lot about kind of the local marketing and the impact it's having on your brick and mortar businesses. What about it's a big country, and you're only in four markets with brick and mortar stores. What about kind of the business strategy in terms of marketing the brand across the country where you don't have stores, and maybe even internationally too? In terms of kind of growing that brand awareness, traffic, and ultimately trying to get customers in the markets where you don't have the stores onto the e-commerce site and ultimately converting.
First of all, in terms of the international part, it's like I was saying before, the Made in America has always been appreciated outside of the U.S. And Americana has always been an important movement outside the U.S. And so we actually have 15 stores outside the U.S., in Japan and in Europe, where we've had these incredible partners since the 70s that, have been promoting Schott NYC as this American brand. And so they kind of were a step ahead of us. As far as it relates to the U.S., we really are using our stores to help grow our customer base, to grow our mailing list. We've been working with Salesforce, with Marketing Cloud, to create these custom journeys for different audiences. And we're still in the process of trying to identify the nuances of each of our different audiences, because every customer out there is not looking for the same thing, obviously. So the stores end up feeding everyone that comes into one of our stores should have a great experience and should want to learn more about the brand, and hopefully that drives them to the website. Hopefully we're capturing their information so that now we can start sending information about the brand from the corporate umbrella. And so they really, each component is feeding the other.
For the international businesses, which is interesting, are you, you mentioned 15 stores outside the U.S. Are you also selling online internationally? So, customers in those countries, outside the U.S. are able to order direct to consumer from Schott NYC? Yes,
we do. So actually about 25% of our sales are international online.
So fulfillment of those orders then immediately springs to my mind. Obviously, if they're buying these, rugged, heavy leather jackets, shipping that is a challenge. Are you fulfilling those orders, from the U.S. distribution center, or do you have facilities outside the U.S.?
It's a very good question. At this point, we're still fulfilling because we have a lot of different products. Because we are in the factory, we're controlling our production and we're making small batches. I mean, it's one of the things that people really appreciate about us, but we're making batches of 80 to 100 jackets at a time sometimes, so they're very specialized. And it would be kind of a merchandiser's nightmare if they were trying to buy this and put it into a store, because there's a lot of products that might look on the face to be the same, but they have little nuanced differences. And that's why we have to focus on really good customer service to help customers find the right fit, the right jacket, the right leather. But we're still shipping it most of the time from our factory here in New Jersey, just because there's too many styles to stock in a warehouse in Europe.
And I would imagine that kind of contributes rather to the kind of that underground coolness of the brand, that scarcity of the product, that they're these jackets aren't being mass produced. That kind of adds the kind of allure to it, I would imagine, for your customers.
Absolutely. I mean, we are the exact opposite of disposable fashion, and I think there's so much disposable fashion out there that, for us, we're building product that's meant to last for decades, literally. And so, we have to make it really easy for people to make exchanges if they want something different. But how many companies still, there's a phone number people can pick up and call us if they have any questions, any problems, and we still want everyone to be happy. If there's a problem, we want to hear about it at the top level because we want to fix it.
So let's talk a little bit about the role technology plays in helping Schott NYC. We've talked a lot about marketing the brand. What are some of the technologies you're relying on? You mentioned your relationship with brand networks, Salesforce. Can you talk a little bit about kind of internally the role technology is playing in improving marketing?
I think it's the way that we're learning more about our customer. Fit has been incredibly important. We tried a couple of different third-party fit companies, and we found that we probably know this better than they do. I think it could work if you have a shirt company where there's no difference from the outside. All of the specs in our industry are from the outside of the garment. But when you're dealing with jackets, you've got fill, you've got padding inside. And so the outside spec measurement has very little to do with how it's going to feel on your body if you're not taking into account how stiff the leather is, how much fill there is. So crafting the fit guidance has been something that's been really helpful for us to reduce return rate, because that goes right to the bottom line. And so that in and of itself becomes a marketing tool, because it gives people confidence to make their purchase. It's the content, it's getting those reviews, the positive reviews, and giving people confidence in their fit. A lot of images, obviously, the origin stories about where the product is coming from, the utilitarian function, all of this stuff. It's kind of like, I'm a big fan of Seth Godin, the Purple Cow, where you can't bring the marketing department in at the end. You have to build it into the product. And so I'm not sure how technological this is, but it's about finding that content that's built into the product and then using that through social, through the content on the website to give people confidence to increase conversion rate.
Yeah.
As a brief example of this Purple Cow concept, we work with a tannery in Chicago. So when we were trying to promote the Chicago store, we did a local event. This tannery, Horween, has been around. I think they're in their 5th generation, and there are very, very few tanneries left in the United States. And Horween is probably just about the only brand name in leather, and they build this really heavy leather. And so we do these small batch jackets, limited releases, and they seem to be very successful, fortunately. People love it. They love the story about it. And so we had an event in our Chicago store where Nick Horween came in, and I was there, and we talked about the process of making their leather and what makes it unique. And it got a lot of people there. It was a really great experience. And then those people feel engaged with the brand, and now they're out promoting through their social media.
Yeah, that's interesting. You mentioned kind of this really inherent Americana brand story is at the core of Schott NYC, and then that's really what the product is about and the brand is about, and technology is what you're using to kind of amplify that brand story.
Yes, and then the other thing that's been really helpful for us are these collaborations. Because we're made in America, we have higher costs, and that in and of itself becomes a part of the marketing expense. We don't view it that way. But it is. There's a higher cost, and so for us, there are competitive advantages to manufacturing here because we can make those small runs. We can turn quickly on our inventory to get back into stock of something if we need to. But we also build these special collaboration pieces, and we've been really fortunate. Just like our influencers, we've been working with brands like Supreme and Marc Jacobs, Vetements, RRL, Ralph Lauren. And so we do these really cool collaborations that are now introducing our brand to a new host of customers, of fans of the other brands. And now they're starting to come and look and see what we're up to. So that's been a really important thing. We just have to make sure that that each collaboration that we do has a purpose, has a reason. They're not just self-promotional alone without serving some function, so people can look at it and see why, okay, this makes sense, I get it. It's not just taking our products and sticking somebody else's name on it.
Yep, it fits with the brand. So then my final question, Jason, is, as COO and kind of on the leadership team, where are your attention? Where are you focusing as you're looking at to, continue to grow the Schott NYC brand? Is it, is it more stores? Is it, growing the D2C business and investing resources there? Maybe, product, marketing, there's all these different things. Where are you, one or two things where you're really, has got your attention and you think that could be an opportunity for the company?
I think that for us, because we're still a niche we're still a small guy in this market, even though we've been doing it for over 100 years, there's still so many people that don't know who we are. There's tremendous opportunity for growth. And obviously the D2C has to be the area of our focus right now. I mean, that's the growth opportunity for us right now. We love our wholesale partners and we want them to be successful, and we want to do everything we can to keep them there. It's a tough world out there in the wholesale world, because there's just so much, the margins are so much greater in the direct to consumer. And for us, because the margins are so great, it has to be where I devote most of my focus.
Yep. Makes a lot of sense. So I want to take this opportunity to thank Jason Schott of Schott NYC for joining me today. Please check out our podcast channel page, mytotalretail.com/podcast for show notes. Total Retail Talks is available on Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Spotify, and Stitcher. But make sure to subscribe on our podcast channel page as well. Also, please take the time to rate and review this podcast. Thanks, and I look forward to you joining us on the next episode of Total Retail Talks.
To hear from inspiring women in retail, register for Women in Retail Leadership Circle's On the Road event taking place in San Francisco on Thursday, November 7th. Visit ontheroad.wirlc.com for more information. We hope to see you there.